love this, man. This is amazing beer.
I love Slaughter Cult.
Putting it on and then groovy. It literally is. Here comes African Bruce Lee. Oh, he's in the tree. Watch out, Bruce Lee. And then you just expect Slayer to come walking out and start going. Moms against drugs, moms against movies, moms against moms, moms against Canadians, moms against laughing.
They don't even need to play the riff, just the drums.
Totally.
Wheelmust, we're coming to get your ugly face on camera. Wheelmust.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're a few hours ahead of me.
Yeah. When I woke up this morning, I said I'm never going to drink a beer again. But cheers.
That usually happens. Yeah, that happens a couple times a month.
Yeah, I try not to do too often.
Right.
I had visitors from out of town yesterday, so.
Gotta show them the ropes.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
I live in Malmö, Sweden. Where do you live, Alfred?
I am St. Catharines, like Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada.
Ah, cool. But you aren't born and raised in Canada, right?
Yep.
Hey, you are?
Yeah. My dad moved here. My Oma and my dad moved here from Graz when he was 7. So, yeah.
All right. Because I read that you went to your first death metal show. I didn't read it. I saw it in the trailer of the Growl, the documentary. We're going to talk about it later. But you went to the first death metal show in Niagara Falls, New York.
Yep. You got it. Let's see. I think I have the poster. Oh. Well, let's see here. I can't find that poster. I think it's downstairs or something. But anyways.
We just edit it in later. Yeah.
Okay. So that was it was Grotesque Infection, and which is one of the demos that we ended up putting out on CDN Records there. Got it on tape there. Your little tape. Got to bring the tapes back. Love it. So it was Grotesque Infection and Infestation. So that was at the Cocktail Lounge, which is literally from Niagara Falls to Niagara Falls, New York. As soon as you cross the border, it's like a 5-minute walk straight up the street from the border, and it was right there. So we were kind of obviously familiar with being just the States because we trip over there all the time just for we have to go skateboarding there all the time, and just being close to the border, we'd always go. So me and my friend, we ended up just kind of tripping over there, and it just happened to be as close as it was. And yeah, that kind of just that was it. Just got the ball rolling after that.
Awesome. So that's like the main interest in life, music and horror movies, right?
Oh, huge. Changed everything for me. Obviously, as a kid, I mean, growing up with VHS and everything like that in the video stores, it was just something that I found that gave me serenity, and I guess just brought me to my own place, because I moved a lot as a kid, right? So it was like, was that grade 1 to 4 was one school, grade 4 to 6 was another school, grade 6 to 8 was another school, and then 3 different high schools or whatever like that. So I kind of made my own entertainment, which meant sitting in front of a radio, listening to music, tapes, records, or whatever it was, or going to a local video store telling my parents, I want to rent that one and that one, because you had to be kind of 18 to rent most of the movies back then.
Yeah.
So it was like, can you just, grab me all these movies, and then I can entertain myself for hours. And Atari. Playing Atari was always the best too at the time.
We have that in common, like moving around, like to different towns and family splitting up. I don't know if you had that, but like moving around and you don't get any close friends, so you find your interest in movies and music and like digging down in that. And at that time of your life, you can like do it for like 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and it doesn't really matter because you don't take life seriously at all. So
right, yeah, because you're just trying to find your own happiness within everything that's going on, right? Which I mean, not that like I kind of look back and now I didn't mind the fact that I moved around because I rose to the top. I didn't let that shit bother me or put me down or put me in depression or anything like that. So the movies and the music and everything I found now was the savior and kept me sane pretty much, which was a good thing. But again, like you said, moving around, you start losing your close friends. You start losing that little hangout that was around the corner in that forest that you would go to every day, just because you knew somebody was going to be there. And then all of a sudden you're in a different neighborhood, and then different people are hanging around, and you're not sure if you should BMX in front of their house or go down to somebody else's fort or something like that, right? So it was like, you just kind of come home from school and nobody's hanging out. Well, I guess I'm putting on some movies and putting the headphones on, listen to some music, and just drift away.
When were you born?
74.
74.
Yeah.
So you had the golden 80s.
What's that?
You had the golden 80s in your life.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I drifted towards at the beginning. I mean, obviously, I found "Speak of the Devil" by Ozzy Osbourne was kind of that album that all of a sudden, that cover, everything just brought me right in, right? And I was like, okay, this is kind of gross. This is kind of scary. And then obviously later realizing that most of that album was pretty much just Black Sabbath songs. But that was kind of the catalyst to, that morbid side of it all. I mean, I was already watching horror movies and being entertained by that stuff. But all of a sudden that kicked in. And then I, a little bit of Maiden, a little bit of Judas Priest, because I had a neighbor whose older brother was into Iron Maiden. So that's when I first seen Peace of Mind, and then again you're looking at the record and you're just like, okay, holy shit, like, okay, where are we going with this, right? And then that kind of kept itself going, but then all of a sudden like hip hop and breakdance started kicking in the early 80s, and I really gravitated to that. I mean, I love the whole hip hop culture and everything. My dad, he had a stack of vinyl of old school soul and funk albums, so I can kind of see the transition that happened there. And then by the mid to late 80s, I started skateboarding a lot, and then watching the videos of skateboarding back then, Santa Cruz and all that kind of stuff. So all of a sudden there's like, Black Flag and Dinosaur Jr. and Minor Threat and everything like that, and you're like, okay, like where's this going? And then it just blew up kind of after that.
Yeah. So, what age were you in when you went to your first death metal show?
So that was, I believe that was mid '92. So I was 18.
18.
Yeah, that was my first concert ever, really. Just after that, I ended up obviously starting to meet like-minded individuals, start seeing the posters up from the other bands, and here's our next show, here's our next flyer, and all that kind of stuff. And then right after that, I ended up going to see Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh, all right.
So before they blew up and, A Boy Named Goo album and everything like that, but when they were on Metal Blade Records, that's when they were good. So they had Jed and Hold Me Up, right? I mean, I love those two albums. And a friend of mine was like, yeah, you got to come see this band, the Goo Goo Dolls. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a pretty dumb name. So, okay, let's go figure this out. And I ended up showing up there, which was cool because I was wearing a Morbid Angel shirt at the time. And me and my buddies were sitting there at the table, and this guy comes up to us, and he's like, "Oh, Morbid Angel, amazing, man. We just played with those guys 6 months ago or something like that." I'm like, "Just played with them? What are you talking about? Like, they're a big, to us at that time, this is a big band." And he's like, yeah, I'm in this band called Baphomet, if you ever heard of them or whatever. I'm like, no, I have not yet. So I will look into this. And then obviously start going through the magazines and the fanzines, and it's like, Baphomet, oh, you guys are from Buffalo and everything. And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, I'm buying a shirt, I'm buying the tapes, I'm buying the CDs and everything. But yeah, that was kind of the start of it all right there. It was just all Buffalo, Niagara Falls, New York stuff, because it was like 5-10 minute jump for us right here.
What collection is bigger, your movie collection or your vinyl collection, with tapes included?
I don't know. It's kind of, I would say it's kind of the same. I got a shit ton of CDs. I can't put them in here. Plus, I don't even have a CD player in this room here, my listening room. I keep everything analog in this room. So CDs are in the basement, but I would say between tapes and everything, it's probably about even, Steven.
Huh?
Yeah.
how many VHS horror movies do you own?
You know what? I haven't really counted, actually. I ended up just getting rid of a whole bunch, too, because, during this whole COVID thing, everything's shut down, locked down, conventions are closed and everything, and started doing... we started working on a horror movie last year, so we were hoping that this year it was kind of be, our convention tours, right? So there's the big Toronto one, there's Niagara Falls one that happens here, our friends in London, and then we were going to trip around in the States too a little bit. But unfortunately that kind of came to a halt, and actually I don't even know where I was going with that.
What is the movie called?
Oh, Necropolis Legion. Let's see here. Necropolis Legion. And that was done for Full Moon Entertainment, to the guys that brought Ghoulies, Tourist Trap, Puppet Master, which is where's all the Puppet Masters right here? All the Puppet Masters there. Demonic Toys, Reanimator. So it was kind of an honor to do something for this company, because we all grew up being fanboys of them.
Awesome. For people listening, it's fullmoondirect.com, and you can find the DVD for $9.95 right now.
Yes,
so buy it.
Yes, please.
Is it a hard crowd to please, the horror crowd?
Yeah, kinda. Nothing against Full Moon or anything, but I'm not really a gigantic fan of a lot of the later movies that they've done, like Evil Bong, that kind of thing. So I think, I'm not saying the company has soured itself to a degree, but I'm finding that some of the movies are just a little too cheap for my viewing pleasure. So I'm hoping that doesn't discourage people from wanting to check this out, because we didn't want to go for that goofy, zany puppets and all that kind of stuff, which is fun, obviously. But we tried to make kind of like a really serious, straightforward, Euro Italian style nightmare.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what this movie is about. It's an hour long, and it's just a trip. And like I said, man, we took homage to Lucio Fulci, Jess Franco, all that kind of stuff, right? So it's got that vibe with the colors, little Bava colors, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Creep show. So we kind of tried to make it a more serious movie, and I think it turned out amazing. This is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to watch it. I'm gonna order it. You already got me with the trailer, and I showed it to my girlfriend. It's like this girl got jaws on her tits.
Yes. Oh yeah. That was our friend Carlos. He runs a shop here in Hamilton, Ontario, which is like a half hour away from myself, and that's where my rabid dog partner lives too. And he did the whole chest, did the animatronics with the nipples and the leaking with the fluids and everything like that. Totally, it worked out great, man.
What's your part in the
the movie itself or the production? So pretty much between Phil Phil Pattison, my partner, and myself, we shot it. We did the lighting. We did the sound. We did the set decorating. We built the gravestones, the props. We wrangled up the crew. Phil did the editing. We did pretty much everything other than directing, writing, and finding the locations.
Yeah, and who wrote the film?
Chris Alexander and his partner. I'm not even. What's his name? Oh, Brockton McKinney. So those two wrote the movie, and it's kind of a sequel. It's not really a sequel, but it's a continuation of the original Necropolis, which was done also by Empire Pictures, which is Full Moon Entertainment before Full Moon, and they did their version of Necropolis. But in that one, the lady had 6 boobs instead of just 2 teeth boobs, so she had a whole chest of boobs in that one.
The more the merrier, also.
I guess. Ours looks better though. Totally does.
I had Doug Brown. I know you met him. I had him on like a week ago, and he's also a filmmaker, a documentary. He made Slave to the Grind and a lot of more. But just to mention one, and you are making a documentary right now. Are you finished with it?
We were supposed to be wrapping filming up probably by now. We were supposed to go trip around in the States still a little more. We had to go. We were going to sit down with the ladies from Dercada and Jill from Funerus. So we were going to have like a female roundtable because it's not just like a sausage party. This documentary or the scene, right? There's obviously females involved. So we had them waiting to sit down. We were supposed to trip around to New York, Ohio, and then Quebec Death Fest was supposed to happen with Dismember and Massacre and stuff. So we were supposed to sit down with Fred Etzby and then Cam Lee, and then we wrapped up the Canadians, which we just did about 3 weeks ago with Mike DeSalvo, Luc Lemay, and Lord Worm. So that we got the Canadians out of the way, which I mean is the only thing we can do right now. But yeah, we were supposed to be supposed to have the filming done by now and then start editing. But obviously that's not happening as we speak, unfortunately.
Yeah. For people listening, you should check out the trailer. Just write the Growl on YouTube. Looks awesome. Looks awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, and I leave it up to my partner Phil Pattison. He's an amazing editor. That guy knows how to make a story out of nothing, which is kind of half of movie making, anyways. Like it's one thing to shoot plain, interviews, talking head kind of stuff. But then to throw in all the thread and everything else that interjects and all to make it something exciting is something that Phil's amazing at doing. So it's looking pretty good actually from what we've done so far. It looks. I'm pretty happy myself. I'd watch it.
Awesome. Do you also play music yourself?
I kind of did. I'm not really lately, but we did start a band back in, I think myself and our friend Pepper Klopek, who is in this sideshow Guinness World Records act called the Monsters of Schlock. They are a 28 Guinness World Record holder team of mouse traps on the tongue, being slammed through so many tables in a certain minute, the amount of motorcycles jumping over, that all that kind of sideshow stuff, right? So myself and Pepper Klopek, we worked together, so we were forming a band, kind of like, we should think about it, we should do it, and then we started coming up with all these ideas. So it's a grindcore. It's kind of like, I would say it's like an Anal Cunt meets Gigi Allen meets everything, I guess. You want to put it like that? We got like 10-second songs, we got minute songs, all that kind of stuff. But I guess I'm playing bass in that. We were supposed to play a live show in May at a convention, but again, everything got canceled. So I just haven't been playing. I just don't feel the spirit anymore, unfortunately, which sucks ass because I mean we were pumped to play this little set and everything. But other than that, the last band I was in was an improv horror soundtrack psychedelic band. So I was doing bass and keyboards. We had another keyboard player, and then an old friend of mine that I've been jamming with since my first band back in like '91. He was on drums. So we put out a demo, played a couple shows. We played a show with Zombie, if you know Zombie from Relapse Records.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah,
really great. I was really happy when I found them on the Relapse label.
Yeah.
It's like a very different kind of band on a more or less like extreme metal label.
Yep. No, it's great because it has that John Carpenter-ish analog soundtrack feel, right? Which is fantastic. So we ended up playing a show with them. I think we played one other show, and then it kind of disbanded. And then before that, I was doing some punk rock stuff. Did a bunch of death metal shit up until then. But I mean, yeah, my kind of jamming has been very scarce lately, which I wish I had more time to play more. Really.
What type of connection do you think like music and movies has? Like, because I think it's pretty common that people that like horror movies like more extreme form of music,
Right. I would put it as for both aspects, whether it be like the extreme music or horror movies. You're just looking for the most extreme outlet, whether it be visual or audio. So putting together, Cryptopsy with, Brain Dead kind of works together because you're getting the fastest and the grossest and everything like that on one end. And then you're getting, again, the grossest, the most extreme, the bloodiest, everything. So putting those together, I would think is pretty much a marriage made in heaven.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, they're not really, they love horror movies, but they're more thrash metal or more traditional heavy metal, 80s style stuff or whatever. But I mean, like those two work together, obviously, because metal pretty much just melds itself with horror movies regardless. Like pretty much any movie you find within probably the mid 80s and up, they started to incorporate a little more music with metal and hard rock and all that on the sides because they realized that there is the potential of the fans crossing over, loving one or the other. Because I mean, if you had, you got Dee Snider on one side, throwing out Twisted Sister and the way he's looking and everything like that, and all these parents, hassling and the PRC and Tipper Gore. Moms against parents against metal and all this stuff. So it's guaranteed, it's guaranteed going to happen with movies also, which it did because when they started pushing the buttons in the 80s and everything became more televised and more on the news and things became more extreme, then everybody was fighting against it. Moms against drugs, moms against movies, moms against Canadians, moms against laughing and Atari, moms against kids, moms against music and everything. So what do you think's gonna happen? You're gonna provoke more more interest in kids going, oh, you can't touch that and those lyrics are bad and I can't watch that movie because it's rated R. Are you kidding me? I gotta seek this out and figure out what this is, right? So it totally works together.
I just imagine their parents like, no, you can't listen to Elvis or you can't listen to Frank Sinatra, and they would have like Dee Snider or have Frank Zappa in those classic interviews and those court cases. It's just amazing to watch. It's like
it's totally true. Yeah, because like just like you said, like I mean, our parents grew up watching Elvis with the first thrust, the hip thrusts and everything, and then and they censored that. They didn't even let them shoot below his waist So you could see him gyrating and everything like that because they didn't want to throw that information out to the kids that are watching it on TV. So what do you think's going to happen? There's going to be a revolution of, we need more Elvis. I want to see what Elvis is doing below his belt. What other rock and roll is out there? And then the Chuck Berry and everything started coming out, and everything just was getting a little more aggressive, which would be our grandparents not liking that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it happened with our grandparents too back in the day, because swing and jazz and all that and the blues was super underground, and it wasn't mainstream at the time. So that was the kind of music that people were searching the underground for at the time, like swing, especially swing, because the way they danced. You can't have people jumping up and then landing on each other and then swinging around and doing all that kind of stuff. You're not supposed to be touching each other like that. So, our grandparents were the ones, going against the grain back in the day too, listening to listening to the swing and then going to the underground clubs and doing that dirty dancing is what that originally was, right? So it kind of just keeps going. It just gets more crazier as the years go.
This is not good in the eyes of God. We need to have a sacred marriage. Do not touch.
Pretty much. And then of course everyone's gonna rebel. Like, it just happens every time. You're in your teens or younger. You're gonna start seeking out what your parents are telling you not to do. It's just reverse psychology that never worked.
Yeah. About music in movies, I remember the classic. Is it the Beyond? I think Maiden has a song in that one.
No, that was Phenomena. Yeah, Dario Argento's got. I think Priest is in it. Iron Maiden, Flash of the Blade.
Yeah,
that's the big one that comes in as soon as that end hit, or the ending of that movie where she falls into the pit of maggots.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Flash of the Blade starts kicking in, right? And it's unbelievable. But it happened before in Demons, which is Dario. Yeah, that was Saxon was in there. I believe Wasp was in there. So Argento was always kind of the progressive one to do something that nobody else was doing.
Yeah.
And totally, Demons had a whole metal soundtrack. It was fantastic.
He made Suspiria also, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Beautiful movie. Yeah, I can go on. Yeah, I totally can go on about that movie all day. I mean, I'd say Argento is probably one of my favorite directors. Whether like Deep Red, even just his first bunch of horror movies was Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Cat of Nine Tail, and Four Flies on Grey Velvet. And those three movies, like this Animal trilogy is what he calls it, with and it was before Goblin. It was Ennio Morricone who ended up doing the soundtrack for those ones. And just the way he shoots, man, he loves progressive rock, and you can tell because once Goblin kicked in, that's just no turning back from there. But the way he shot was almost in like a progressive rock style also, where it was doing something that nobody else was doing. His camera angles were crazier, or they were longer, or like his editing was something, and then the music would kick in to kind of add to those visuals on top of that. Like, I don't know, man, Dario's unbelievable, and I was thankful to meet him for a bit too. He ended up coming to Toronto for one of our big horror festivals at a Comic-Con. And it was Maurizio Guarini, which he lives in Toronto now. He's from Goblin. And Goretta was there, and Argento. And that was the year Argento and George Romero were together there at that convention. So obviously I was friends with a lot of the guys at Rue Morgue magazine, which is from Toronto also. And they pretty much kind of were just like, yeah, come to the front of the line, man, and here you go. And here's Argento, and I'm not a fanboy often, but there's video of me just kind of like, how are you, sir? hi. It's unbelievable. It was unbelievable. So I got his signature on Suspiria DVD downstairs or something like that, and then I showed him my tattoo, which is obviously there's Jessica Parker from Suspiria.
Yes. do you ever get the feeling when you like watch movies, like you would have done something differently, like the camera angles or like the music, or is this like a process in your mind when you watch other people's movies?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time, man. Yeah, I kind of wish I wasn't, a part of that industry, I guess, so that I can lose myself a little more. Because, I obviously as a kid, you grow up, you're watching these movies, they're making such an impact, you don't even know what's happening, that's just the music, the gore, the visual effects, or anything like that, right? So you're kind of just sitting back and just taking in exactly what's in front of you. But as you get into, you start filming, you start editing, you start doing some effects and everything, you kind of don't submerge yourself as much into just being a fan. Whereas, as soon as the movie starts, you're like, that title should have been, zooming a little more that way, or they should have made that camera angle fade a little more down there, and the effects, they should have did that angle over here, and the lighting is okay, they should have put one in the back. Yeah, all the time, man. And especially when I'm hanging out with all my friends too, that's all we do is just, blast what we see on the screen, and then just laugh about it, or be like, holy shit, like that's exactly what we're trying to do, or that's the same lighting pattern that we were trying to figure out. Oh, there's that editing thing that they did there, that that cut into the gore effects there, like that Tom Savini, Peter Jackson kind of thing that they always did all the time. So yeah, you end up just sitting there and just taking the movies apart and apart and apart, to the point where you kind of forget that you should just be sitting back enjoying the entertainment of it all and not worrying about how it was made. But it's too late now. I'm already too far gone.
One example that really annoyed me, Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, the remake of that one. Yeah, you saw the remake?
Oh yeah, I like it.
Yeah, same here. But like music-wise, when it's starting to rain blood from the sky, they just need to put in the drums from Raining Blood with Slayer. Just imagine if they would have done that. It's like they don't even need to play the riff, just the drums.
Totally.
That's all.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't even have to pay like copyrights and all this shit, because it's just a drum beat, but it's enough. Yeah.
But us fans, we would all of a sudden be like, we know what they're doing there. Here we go.
Exactly.
And then you just expect Slayer to come walking out and start going.
It's like, big mistake. So,
Slayer next time. How dare you? And I hear they are working on something else now too. Like I'm not sure if I read that they were trying to do an Evil Dead 2 or something, but yeah, they're working on something in the background. I'm pretty sure I read that like last year or whatever.
Which one is your favorite of the original three?
I'd say the first.
Yeah.
I'd say the first, because of the way it was shot. We ended up. My eyes have been watering lately. This time of the season. I ended up friends of ours who do a convention here in London, Ontario, which is like 2 hours away. They ended up teaming up with Grindhouse, who owned the rights to Evil Dead, The Beyond, Pieces, I Drink Your Blood, and a couple other movies. So they were working with Grindhouse and were able to get the rights to play Evil Dead in Pieces at a bunch of drive-ins around here. So we ended up doing a tour. I ended up going to 4 dates of Pieces, or Evil Dead then Pieces, and obviously watching them night after night after night with friends, and then everybody else is kind of picking it apart, and we're all talking, what's your favorite Evil Dead, blah blah blah. the more you watch the first one, the more you appreciate how indie it was, and reading the behind the scenes of the equipment that they used, the equipment that they built for it, the amount of lights that they had, and just pretty much in one location that they were able to pull this cartoony yet still super scary and visceral horror movie. I mean, some of the gore is laughable. I mean, you look back at it now, and you're kind of like, yeah, they could have made her look a little scarier, and maybe they should have blended the gore a little more here. But overall, man, like I find the first one probably the scariest, the most fun, and you can pick out the indie in it, which I absolutely love. Like some of those shots that they do, like the one shot in particular where Ash is just standing there, and I think he's looking at his girlfriend sitting in the doorway, and it's the shots from behind, and then all of a sudden it just kind of pans over the top or whatever like that. It's like how did they do that for one? And then you look back and like, okay, so they rigged up like there's like a 2x4. They had two people standing on each side of the camera, and they kind of just went over and just did it smoothly by thatself. But I mean, that's doable, because I mean, that was like, however many people were in that production, compared to somebody like us or yourselves that we can put together a $30 rigging equipment for a camera, and it's doable. But the way he put it together, like the music and the lighting and like it's phenomenal. It's scary as hell. I fucking love the first one. Part 2 is fun, obviously, because now that he's got a budget, and now that he's trying to portray more of a Three Stooges kind of comedy and humor to it, and realizing that he can do a lot more with a budget. Like they actually built that whole cabin in a sound stage, so they were able to pump the blood through the walls and all that kind of stuff, right? Which it's absolutely amazing because it looks so cool. But I just find some of the goofiness kind of takes away from it.
Yeah, I eat your soul. Like a chainsaw arm, like when he puts it on, it's like the editing when he gets the chainsaw arm is just amazing. It's like an action movie. It's like
it literally is.
It's
because every cut, there's a noise like the chains. And then locking it down, and then opening up the curtain, and then grabbing the chainsaw, and then cutting the chainsaw, and then putting it on, and then groovy, right? And then it's just like it's totally it's unbelievable, actually.
Eat this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll swallow your soul.
Yeah, that's the line. Swallow your soul. And the third one, I don't know. It's like if you would have found it in the movie store in the early 90s, is like is it like 90 or is it like 88, 89? I can't remember.
I think it's 90, 91.
91.
Army of Darkness came out.
It's like where would you find it? Is it the horror selection or the comedy selection?
Right. Yeah. Totally.
It's a hard call on that one.
It's very high. I ended up going to the theater to see that because I mean, obviously, just Evil Dead is such a cool movie, and by the time Army of Darkness came out, I was kind of able to make more of my own decisions and just go out on my own because I was, so 1990, I was like 17, I think, 16, 17. So I ended up going to the theater to see that, and then we had a blast walking away, but we were all laughing more than we were like, oh, you see the gore or you see the effects or how cool that monster was. You're just laughing at the lines that they were throwing down all the time, right? And again, it's total Three Stooges, right? Like poking the eyes and and they're laughing and it's unbelievable.
This is a boomstick.
Yeah, totally, right? Which and I like the movie, and it's one of those movies that you can show your kids, really, because it's more laughable than it is to be taken serious.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, like, I would say, introduction to getting your kids into watching horror movie to see if it's too scary and then they're still laughing or what's happening here. It's pretty. So
instead of watching the first, second, and the third, you should just switch
3,
it.
2, 1.
Yeah, exactly.
It totally is, man. And pretty much probably by the time they get to one, they probably just look at it and go, this is too cheap. This looks too cheap.
I think Bruce Campbell was pretty cheap at that time also to have as an actor.
For sure, but it works though. Like it's amazing, right? I mean, obviously the first one, he takes a little bit of a beating, and he's not laughing about it, and he's not trying to. He's not trying to play like a superhero part. He's just trying to survive. Yeah. Whereas the second one, he turns into like this full-blown character, and he's surviving, but yet he's coming up with all these solutions to kill that person, or to not let that one come back to life, and then he's chasing after his hand now, so he's running around the house chasing after his hand and everything. It's just so many possibilities with the second one, and he's all over the place. I love it. So he's very diverse that way, which I like.
If you would like explain Evil Dead 2 and like explain it in terms of this band, do you see what I mean? If I say like that my own band is maybe Toxic the Avenger,
right? Yeah.
What would Evil Dead 2 be?
Evil Dead 2, man. Do you compare the first one to like to Symphonies of Sickness, and then the second one to Heartwork, or the second one to not even Heartwork? What, Wake Up and Smell the Carcass, which they did all those terrible covers and all that stuff. So I would almost do that. Whereas like Symphonies is downright sick. It's not lighthearted. It's gross. And then the later Carcass is they're having fun with it. They're playing nice riffs. It's melodic and all that kind of stuff. So I would put Evil Dead, Evil Dead first one, Symphonies, Evil Dead 2, like Heartwork and beyond.
Doug Brown told me, the creator of Slave to the Grind, he always has this discussion with the people involved in the project. Was this metal or was this punk?
Right.
And I really like the comparison here. Yeah.
It's true. It's totally true. I kind of think it's more punk than it is metal. They only just ended up putting blast beats and a harsher vocal. Right.
Yeah. But but it's like a documentary. Can be more punk. It can be more rough because it's like the story, the meaning. It really doesn't matter what kind of camera did you use or like stuff like that.
Not at all. Because I mean, just death metal, extreme music, grindcore, all that. It all rose from a tape trading Xerox scene, right? So we were all do it yourself. We all recorded our own music in our garages. We all went to the copy store to Xerox our tape covers and our zines and everything. So it has to have a rough edge to it. I mean, I understand bringing in production and better guitars and equipment and everything like that. Like I get it, but sometimes it loses itself within the music because it started out as so raw and do it yourself. So. I totally agree with that. Sometimes you don't need, a red camera to be shooting everything to get the look and the feel of the overall, experience, really.
Yeah. Especially when you watch like old movies, when the cameras weren't that great either. You don't think of it. Maybe kids these days would like think of it, but maybe just for a couple of minutes. But just a couple of minutes into the movie, it feels so natural to watch it. When did you start doing films from the beginning?
Well, my parents had a video camera. Well, my parents had a Super 8 this camera, but my parents and my grandparents were all about the Super 8 films back in the day, right? So cameras were always around, projectors were always around. And they'd always, shoot the 8-minute reels, which was all that was on these films, and we would watch it at the next, family get-together or whatever. So I guess that was kind of where it subconsciously started, getting thrown into my head. And then my mom was a photographer, so she'd always have some equipment laying around, or a little studio corner with some lights and everything. And I never took it serious, but it was just there. And then they ended up scoring a VHS camcorder in the 80s. And, you start taking it out with your friends, and, you shoot some BMX or, some Fort stuff or anything like that. And then you don't really think of it as just like, oh, that's funny, and then you put it away. Ended up filming my first concert, first death metal concert too. So that was with like Grotesque Infection and Demonacy and a bunch of other Canadian bands and stuff. So seeing that, I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I kind of like, that we can do other stuff with it too. Film music, we love music, everything like that. But it wasn't until probably mid-2000s, late 2000s, where a friend of mine had I believe it was the Sony XL1, the camera, Sony XL2 also, and we just started going around and shooting some things, and my friend had a little bit of an editing program, so we started doing that, and then my good friend Kevin Davidson, he took it real serious, and then he bought a Panasonic HVX, and then we started shooting little local TV things here, and then our friend was editing, and then I was like, oh, okay, so lighting is a big factor with this, and I understand where music kicks in, and then editing, okay, all right, okay, I see. When you start getting good equipment, then you can start producing better quality stuff. So it kind of was probably the late 2000s where I was like, I kind of think I want to do some filming, more filming and stuff. So, and
it's
then
like a drug.
It literally is, because I ended up shooting a little trailer, Argento-y colors and dream sequences and weird ghosty things and stuff. And I was like, okay, I kind of like where this is going. So, and then being in bands, obviously, the soundtrack is always key to bringing the visuals up another notch. So it was kind of just like a smooth transition right into it. But again, it was the equipment, right? Because not everybody had a good computer to firewire your footage into the computer, and then trying to get the music. Where do I record the music? I don't just have a digital recording setup. I had a Tascam 4-track tape recorder at the time, so you're doing little keyboard things into that, and then bouncing that, so now you can have an extra 3 tracks and all that kind of stuff. So it's just tricky at the time, and especially when you're doing it by yourself. Like, you almost not get discouraged, but it just takes forever, right?
Yeah. It just has to be so much easier nowadays than like 20 years ago.
Oh, it's unbelievably easier. So yeah, it's a little easier now, because everything's just digital, just zip, 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 zip. But now the files are just triple the size now, right? You got 4K, 8K you're working with now if you want, slow-mo, everything. It's just like, holy shit.
I saw a African action movie team, and they had like a very, very old computer, and they made like
Who killed Captain Alex?
Yeah, maybe it was that one with a green screen helicopter in it, and
Yep, it's fun.
Yeah, that's like so good movie making.
Yeah.
But what they said was, for every movie they make, they just need to erase all the files, so it's like gone forever, because it's too much process for like the computer.
Big time. Yeah. Oh, those are fun movies. Those are hilarious movies, man. And, here comes Here comes African Bruce Lee. Oh, he's in the tree. Watch out, Bruce Lee, and all that stuff. Right? Like, it is fun, man. Who killed Captain Alex? Yeah, I love that movie, man. I've showed a bunch of people that, because it's just one of those so B movies that you just have to see it to believe it.
Like the first B movies I ever watched, it was the Trauma movies. No, wait, maybe I saw, but that isn't a B movie. Brain Dead is a amazing production, but Trauma, like the Toxic Avenger, I think that was the first like splatter gore movie I ever saw.
Even Class of Nukem High.
Yeah.
There's another one there. Yep. Oh, I love Trauma. It's definitely Toxic Avenger is a huge part of us ourselves. There's a couple friends of ours that worked with us on the Necropolis movie. They work with Trauma also. So they're kind of like back and forth doing some Trauma production, and then they'll come, help us with Full Moon production or whatever like that. So yeah, like the family is small, but it's still big. It's pretty good. But I love Trauma. Yeah, I can always watch Trauma movies. I think it's a good time now.
Yeah. Ah, look at that, Löwenbräu.
Love it. I love this, man. This is amazing beer.
Yesterday we drank a beer that's from a Swedish brewery called Duggis. They have one they call Cola, and it just tastes like cola, but with alcohol. It's like where do you draw the line between soda with alcohol and a beer? It's like,
well, that's almost like they have those. They have like hard root beers now. We had this pop here. It was popular in the 70s and 80s called Pop Shop, and it was like a local Ontario kind of a pop company. And their pops they always came in these cool glass bottles, and they just had the cream soda, root beer, grape, and orange, and I think they had just a regular cola. Disappeared for a while, but then as soon as all the these new flavors and everybody started mixing things and all that stuff, then they came back with like their hard pops. So it's like cream soda with vodka. I think there's a root beer with a rum and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, like, they're pretty good. You can't drink a lot of them, just one or two or whatever. But it's kind of the same thing. It's like, okay, like, is it a beer? Is it a pop? Is it a hard liquor? I'm not sure. Right?
Let's focus on what's important. Like, do you get drunk?
Yeah, totally do.
Yeah.
And a sugar rush. You're zooming around after 3 or 4 of those. You're like, holy shit, I'm drunk, but I want to jump off a building.
Sugar addicted.
Yeah, totally.
About death metal, you have a total lockdown in Canada as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's no shows.
Nothing. No, we have people doing live streams here and there, which I think it's happening. It's pretty much happening everywhere.
Yeah.
And we do have a little local space that's trying to bring some sort of, not live venue, but like a live streaming studio. But I mean, I personally don't care. I mean, I'm gonna watch a YouTube video. I'm gonna watch a YouTube video. It's not the same. I mean, I know we're trying to bring an experience with the live setting, and you can kind of interact and have a moderator possibly, and saying hi to everybody and stuff. But it's still just a YouTube video to me.
Yeah.
So, but that's all we got, right? So I mean, we might as well utilize this technology and the internet and blah blah blah. But it's just I just don't have that. It's not the feeling. There's a massive void, and like yourself too. Whether going to a concert, going to a Comic-Con, conventions or stuff like that, you need to be around people to get you hyped, to get you pumped, to want to do some projects, to want to do this and that. And that's what I'm still missing that shit like crazy. Like, that's the biggest thing right now.
Yeah. And yeah, in my own case, is like how I keep myself sane during this period of time is like, that's why I started this podcast, for example, and I try to do as much videos as possible. And goddamn it, we have never been so creative in Birdflesh since this period. We have written like a EP, and we have written and recorded. We're gonna release it, and we have already written another full-length album. I think when this period is over, the live shows is gonna peak. The competition is gonna be pretty high. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. But I hope it sticks around a little longer, because now people took everything for granted.
Yeah.
Before, too many shows. I don't know which one to go to. I don't know if I want to go to any. Blah blah blah. And then as soon as it all got taken away, it's like, you kind of did realize that, you know, live music is important for just the industry itself and your sanity, really. Because that's, you know, as being an adult or even just being a kid, that's your outlet, right? I mean, you want to go see, you know, punk rock, or it doesn't matter what kind of music it is. Just being there, part of the whole, you know, experience, is just something that I think a lot of people, everyone took for granted. I mean, you yourself, you being in a band touring, you fucking see so many shows. Like, you know, after a while, it's like, okay, another show, okay, I'm good. I don't need to see that show and that kind of stuff, right? So, because it is part of our work. But I mean, then as soon as it was gone, it was like, shit, maybe I should have went to that little fucking 10-person show that happened, you know, 15 minutes from my house and that kind of thing. Because I mean, look where we are now. We're starving to interact and talk and hang out and try to jam or try to live stream or try to make a movie or try to do something, right? Like, we're dying for interaction between us, killing us.
There's one venue in Sweden that has been highly criticized because they have still done gigs, but under the law we have a 50-person maximum, and just imagine it's pretty ironic when you think of it. It's like IKEA and other like huge food stores, food markets. They can have like people like pressing up to each other, but all the venues can have like 50 people. How they solved it is they put up. It's a huge venue. They can have like, I don't know, like 1,200 people in the biggest room, but they open up a restaurant there instead and put out tables, and they could have 50 people and a band playing. So I've been to 2 shows like that for like I don't know, like 8 months. It hasn't been death metal though, but.
Anything, doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's like some live culture. It's like you miss it. In
over
so
in
many
Buffalo,
ways.
there's been a couple shows. My buddy Brian Pattison, who put together the original Day of Death Fest in Buffalo there back in 1990 with Immolation, Mortician, Suffocation, all those bands. His new band, Anthropic, it's like an old school terrorizer from enslavement to obliteration grindcore band, and they're fucking great. So he's always starving for shows too himself. So as soon as they let people, you know, have some sort of a venue to do that, again, just like you said, bunch of tables, certain amount of people, anything, right? Because they're just starving to do something, whether it doesn't matter what style of music it is, just we need to see some fucking live music.
Yeah, for sure.
But is it a bad thing, right? Because I mean, I know shouldn't be pressuring get-togethers and all that stuff because of, you know, whatever's happening. But for sanity's sake, we need that. We have to have that. Like, it's killing. Like, I did that tour with the Evil Dead in Pieces. I had to do that. It's a drive-in, so it's outdoor, so we were kind of okay, I guess you want to call it. But just the fact that I was able to be around a bunch of like-minded friends, talking about, you know, movies, music, everything. It's just, it's as soon as those 3 days were up, I was like, holy shit, like that. I need that more. It's killing us. So, you know, like, is there more underground shows happening? Is there stuff that we're not hearing about? Because if we do, they're gonna get, you know, blasted by the cops, or, you know, be online and everyone's gonna, you know, blast them for not following protocol and everything. Like, I don't know, man. There should be. I'm assuming there's probably tons of underground shows are happening without anybody knowing, because I mean, we just need live shows, right?
Yeah, for sure. We have one place in town. It's some political punks that has it, and it's a venue. They built their own stage. It's packed if there's like 80 people there, so like 50 is perfect. And the closest thing that they have to a show right now is they have an extremely cheap bar, and they have metal karaoke.
Anything.
Yeah. God damn it, I never enjoyed karaoke as much as I do right now.
That would be fun, actually. I wish that would happen a little more around here. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
As much as I do like to do karaoke with, I love yacht rock. And I always admit that I love Michael McDonald. I love Toto. I love all that kind of shit, right? So I usually do that kind of music if I am gonna do karaoke, some Daryl Hall and John Oates or something like that, right? But doing metal karaoke would be hilarious, though, right? I mean, if we had instrumental Cannibal Corpse or instrumental Dio or instrumental something like that, that'd be funny.
Yeah, but you can find. You would be amazed at how many of those karaoke tracks you can find on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
If you would mention like 3 Canadian death metal bands that you don't think people know of, don't like say the big names, say the smaller underground names, so people can find some new music.
Actually, it's actually funny. I did a live stream interview with the guys from Reaper Metal Productions, which is Thomas Haywood from Redefining Darkness and Seeing Red Records, and oh fuck, I'm terrible with names now. And the other guy, he works for Hell's Headbangers and stuff, but he does an online thing, podcast, live streaming, and all this kind of stuff. So he was like, "Can you name 30 death metal bands that are Canadian?" And I actually did. It took me a bit, because I mean, obviously now I'm like, okay, now I gotta go. Okay, well, fucking with the demos that I don't have and all this kind of stuff, right? So for 3. I would go with Purulence. That is a Montreal band that was affiliated with Gorguts back in the early days too. So they had the technical side to it. They had the brutal side to it. So it was more. I wouldn't say it was more of a cryptopsy, but I would say it lent more to the extreme side than just like a Gorguts or whatever. So Purulence was the big one for me at the time. What other Canadian? Fuck. We had lots of really underground stuff. Not tons of stuff that really blew up. That's the thing too. There was this band Inbred from Oshawa. I had the demo over there somewhere. I booked them back in the day too. They had unfortunately they only put out 1 demo, but Inbred. Here, let me get this here. Alright, here. So, yeah, so that was the Inbred demo.
Yeah.
I thought that was this demo just blew me away. I don't know. It's an old school death metal, obviously, because this was 92. But just something about it that wasn't just your typical, like a death kind of Gorguts kind of sound or whatever like that. There was a lot more to it. Oshawa also. But we had, there was this band here called Morecambe. They again, couple demos or whatever, but the sound that was coming out of Montreal, Quebec at the time too was unlike anything else happening at the time. Because I mean, look at early Cryptopsy and Cataclysm, right? Like there was not a band out there that sounds anything like that at all. So we had this other band here, Entonizer.
Cool.
There's this label that ended up putting out all this rare demo shit, and then these 2 bands too again, Cadaverosity and Chaos Sick, buddy, unfucking believable, man, unbelievable. You wanna talk not the populars? Let's go with the super underground shit.
What is your go-to band? It's like the most typical extreme metal band that you listen to.
I usually jump to Frightmare, huge Frightmare fan. Impetigo, fucking love Horror of the Zombies and Faceless. Those two are just like top of the heap. Early Exhumed, everything before Relapse Records, unbelievable, unfucking believable, man. That Hemdale Exhumed split in the name of gore is probably like the greatest thing that was ever released ever. Like I keep telling Matt Harvey that. He's like, dude, that stuff is so old and everything. I go, buddy, like nothing against your newer stuff, but nothing will ever touch before you sign to Relapse, man. Nothing.
I love Slaughter Cult. That's
it's
one of my
unbelievable,
go-to
man.
one. Yeah.
And especially that album. Like, I mean, I love gore metal
Yeah.
because it was kind of a different Exhumed when they signed. Because now they were starting to put in a little bit of solo action. Like Matt Harvey was actually, like he even admits, I actually started learning to play properly by that time. And then Slaughter Cult came out, and that was like the grossest thing. Like, it was so gross, man. That production, the bass. Everything was disgusting, man. That album is so gross. It is literally gross.
This axe was made to fucking grind.
Yeah, exactly, man. And it was cool too because I ended up seeing them on that tour there. They played in Toronto. I think it was with Cephalic Carnage and Dying Fetus. So ended up hanging out with the guys because, like I said, I was always in touch with Matt Harvey even since the early days. I was that Niagara Falls kid. That was just like, who the fuck is this kid from, Niagara Falls, Canada? Keeps buying our demos and all this shit, right? So we finally meet up, blah, blah, blah. So we end up going to smoke a joint with Mike Beams, who was the other guitar player in Exhumed at that time, which is in Mortuous now, right? And he did the lows on that album, and he was saying, he goes, for me to get those ultra lows, because, I mean, we were both, me and my friend, like, how the fuck do you get that low, like I understand Will Romer from Mortician, like that guy gets low. So did Mike Beams, and Mike was like, in the studio, I actually did exercise on an exercise bike to open up my lungs so that I can get a little lower. So literally, he had an exercise bike in the studio while he was recording Slaughter Cult to get those lows. I'm like, oh, okay, so you're breathing just to get that guttural, that super low. Holy shit.
And I really love that the vocals, they aren't that tight, because the low vocals, they are like slacking behind at many parts, and it just makes the sound better, because it sounds more gory when you like do like that. It's like not too many retakes,
No, not at all. And that's what I like, and that's what death metal and grindcore and everything is. I like some produced stuff. I like some technical shit or whatever like that. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, I want to hear the sloppiness. I want to hear, a mistake or two in the background that, you kind of catch but you don't, because, I mean, I'll keep referencing old Cataclysm. Those first two demos and Sorcery, the album Sorcery, like, there are so many mistakes and sloppiness on those albums that you kind of feel that could be done because I can hear them not playing perfectly.
Yeah.
So it kind of brings you to a more personal level, instead of it being, fruity looped and put together in a studio and all that kind of stuff, right? So, yeah. I don't know. There's something about that sloppiness, like you said, like the Exhumed thing too, right? They always had some sloppiness to them, but they kept it tight, but it was sloppy, right?
Yeah, and when you hear mistakes like that, it just becomes a part of the song. Like too many drum hits for like a fill. It's like like too many, but you just gotta get them in. One of my favorite Swedish bands is called Antichrist. Have you heard them?
Okay, yeah. Heard of. I don't think I don't have any of their stuff, but yeah. Anyway.
What I like about like the early songs is that they are still learning to play, and they want to do more than they are capable of.
Right.
And you know where they're heading, and that's what you like when you hear it.
Yep.
Especially when you look back at it now, it's like, this is so great,
Yeah, it's raw, it's rough. You can see what they're trying to do. They can't accomplish everything, but you like the passion that was in them and everything. Yeah, man, totally.
For sure.
Yeah.
If I would name three, I would say Antichrist. There's a Swedish band right now. They're called Growl. Have you heard them?
Growl?
Growl.
Crawl?
Yeah.
Okay, no.
You should check them out. They're fucking great. Really like brutal HM2 band, like really sludgy. Not that fast. Even when they're like blasting, it's like it just feels like blasting mid-tempo. They don't need to prove anything. It's just groovy fucking songs. Have you ever heard a band called Visceral Bleeding from Sweden?
No.
It's like 2001, 2002. It was some member from a band called Spawn of Possession.
Oh yeah.
You probably know them. They shared their rehearsal space in one of the towns where I used to live. So we had a next door rehearsal room. So that's how I found out about Visceral Bleeding. But you should check that out too. It's like old school tech, brutal and still like technical, but not in a cheesy way.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Like
it's not all hammer-ons and arpeggios and everything like that. It's kind of more of a suffocation technical than anything.
Yeah. It's like don't make it hard just to make it hard. There are some bands that I'm not a huge fan of them. I used to be when I was younger, but like Meshuggah, for example, they make extremely hard songs to play, but they are extremely easy to groove in. You know, you get the rhythm, but you wouldn't be able to play this in a fucking 1,000 years because you need to be fucking a superhuman to be able to like figure it out.
Yeah. Simple riffs, but technical within those riffs, really, right? And their drum patterns are ridiculous. Some of the guitar chugs and triplets and everything that they do at times, like it's like, how do you even keep up with that?
Yeah. Fucking amazing. I saw them. I saw them the first time when I was 11, and it fucking blew my mind. When I was 12.
Yeah. Well, especially at that time, at that age, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Before that, it was like, you know, I had listened to Guns N' Roses, Millencolin, some Swedish skate punk bands, you know, etc. Maybe Offspring's first album.
Okay. So the first album is Reignition. I'm not a giant Offspring fan, but I grew up during that time when that Southern California punk rock and Epitaph Records and Fat Records was blowing up, and a lot of people kind of the first Offspring is when they hit the radio.
Yeah, smash.
I'm like, no, you gotta go back another album or two before that.
They were much darker before they released Smash.
Totally.
For people listening, you should check out the song Dirty Magic.
Right.
What a fucking tune. And I can't remember the name of it, but I'm a pyro, I gotta burn it up. Fucking great.
And it was raw though, like I mean the sound was raw, there was something about it back then, right?
Yeah, and
then as soon as they got signed, everything got produced, and then they got happy, and everything was
my friend's got a girlfriend, and she says like
no, shh.
No. Maybe at karaoke nights.
Oh no, not even that, man. Because that was during that time too. I was was it during high school? Yeah, it was during high school. So like just during high school by that time, I mean I was already, I'm listening to the Meat Shits and Napalm Death and all this other stuff, right? So by the time all that stuff came out and people were like, I love this new punk rock and everything like that. I'm like, you guys are fucking lost. Like Green Day, I like old Green Day. Everything before Dookie, unbelievable, right? Yeah. But everybody jumped on the whole Dookie train. Now Green Day's the best band, Offspring's the best band, and everything like that. And I'm like, oh my god, you guys are killing me, man. Yeah. You gotta do your research. Go back, man. Go back farther. Where'd they come from? Not that starting point. The original starting point.
Too much to ask from people.
It way too much, man. Because and that's the problem too. I always have this argument with everybody. It's like everyone says they're a music fan. I go, okay, but how much of a music fan are you? Yeah. Do you turn on the radio and you just listen to music all day? Or do you actually turn on the radio, maybe like that song, go look into that song, and then see what other bands sound like that song or something like that, right? So are you a music fan or just like a regular listener? Big difference.
Yeah, for sure. And do you buy the album? Do you support the band? Right. Do you go to the live shows? Because I know so many people that like even study music and they really enjoy like the theoretical part of music, but they don't go to live shows because it's like I can't take my car 15 minutes away from my fucking TV couch. You know, it's dinner time. You know?
Yep. No, I'm good. No,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'll just grab a bite to eat on the way there. We'll grab some beers, do some parking lot stuff, and then go to the show. And then we'll worry about food later because music is the first priority.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you're not watching a horror movie to dinner, right?
Exactly. Well, you do that while you're watching dinner, and then go to the show afterwards.
Yeah.
You get the best of both worlds in one day.
Do you also put up gigs yourself, like book bands?
Used to.
Used to?
Yeah, like my first show was actually here. That was the first concert I ever put on. My old band Mangled. There, we opened the show. I did that in '93. So I think my first show was '92. It was my old punk rock band, and then that show came in. And then sporadically here and there, I put on some, I tried to bring it just different and weird extreme bands because, I mean, at that time, nobody knew anything really back then, around here at least. So I tried to bring the weird bands and stuff. And then, I dipped in and out a show here and there. And then probably late 90s, we were doing a radio show at the time too for a local university called Chronic Aggression, so it was all metal, me and my partner Metal Dan. And so then I started putting on more shows because I had an outlet, an avenue for marketing, right? So started putting on more shows, bringing in some crazier stuff, and then at that time metalcore and hardcore and all that was kind of making kind of coming up a bit. So at least metalcore at that time was still kind of good, and it wasn't overdone, and there wasn't a fucking gajillion bands doing all this shit, so everybody was kind of different, which it worked out because it was still metal, right? Metal infused at that time. So I started bringing all these new bands in, and did a bunch of shows, kind of went off a bit, and then probably late 2009, 2010, I started bringing more shows again. Just get the bug. And then probably over the last 7 years, I was like, yeah, I'll let some other people put some shows on.
Yeah.
I got some other stuff I got to do. I wish I could do more shows because everyone keeps asking me, and you just don't have the avenue, the clubs really. We have one club, and here and there. But other than that, just I got other shit we got to do. Like I said, we're filming stuff, we're making music videos, we're doing all this other shit. So just don't have the time. And unfortunately, as much as I want to do shows, I have to look at it as a business thing also. And unfortunately, not all shows always bring you money.
Yeah. So that's
you almost lose more than you win at concerts personally. When I do a show, I want to make it an event. It's not just, hey, we got 3 bands, show up. It's like, no, we got 3 or 4 bands, trying to mix the genres. I've always tried not to do just death metal or just thrash or just punk. Tried to bring everything in because I'm pretty sure the majority of us, we love all different styles.
Yeah.
So try to bring it all in, try to make it an event, try to do some giveaways, try to bring some sponsors on, and try to make it a fun night instead of just showing up. Oh yeah, there's 3 bands playing. I didn't even hear what you were talking. I didn't even know what was going on, or just seen the sign and on the bar marquee at the time, and then just showed up. No, I'm spreading the word. I'm doing it old school, putting posters up still on all the poles and everything. Make it a fucking event. And I mean, and everybody's always been happy with all the shows that I've ever put on because we wanted to make it fun and not just a show. It's an event, right? It's supposed to be an event, not just oh hey, let's do a fucking show every other week or every week at this club, and then it just gets watered down, and then nobody cares anymore, and it's well, I'll just go next week when there's a show and all this kind of shit. It's well, when I'm doing a show, it's I'll put on maybe 1 or 2 a year whenever I was doing shows, but pump the fuck out of it for 4 or 5 months to make sure that this is going to be a fucking good time instead of just 10 people showing up at a gig, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. I put up last year I put up a show in Malmö. It was my first show in Malmö. I used to do it like 6 or 7 years ago. Malmö Massacre, and I totally agree with you. We like try to do it like, more or less like an event. We before the show starts, I show the Sherby movie, the documentary I made, and for this year, of course, it was postponed. The headliners this year was going to be Exhumed and Necrot. So
nice.
Fucking cred to Exhumed. But it was postponed. But we had like planned like 3 hours of indie Finnish horror movies.
Right.
So I like get the whole thing, and we had like plans of maybe having like Jesus bleeding from the cross and like stuff like that, you know,
Yeah,
like
cool.
cool stuff. But as you say, like a event, just not another weekend gig.
No, and that's usually what happens. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not putting anybody down that's in these areas or anything like that, but I mean, it's not really. I mean, like you said, you're trying to bring in some sort of, you know, entertainment on top of the show itself. And like myself too, I mean, the one bar that we were always doing shows at, they had this huge big screen TV that was behind the bar. So we'd always play like horror movies or, you know, cult classic trailers and all that kind of stuff. So then if you're not joined the band, then you can turn around and watch these fucking cool old school movies and shit like that. And everybody, after every show, was just like, man, that was so much fun, man. And then, you know, I'm watching the band up at the front, and all of a sudden I turn around, and there's a set of tits on the screen. And it was just like, oh, this is like the best time ever. And I'm like, yes, because it's an event. It's not just another gig. Put some time and effort into it, and people will want to care about what you're doing or what they're seeing or what they're coming to all the time.
I used to work at a restaurant. It was like all type of people. It was like older people with nice clothes, and there were like hipsters with nice mustaches and like stuff like that.
Beautiful.
But at the summertime, we opened up for like a outside area, and it was like a pole with like one TV on each side. And one day I just brought like, I don't know, like 10 movies. It was like classics from Trauma. It was even Hellraiser, like Day of the Dead, stuff like this, and just played it when like people sat there and ate, but with no sound, which is a weird thing. If you don't want to talk to the person who's eating, it's like just watch it at the movie and you see like gore eating fine dining food, and to me it was so fun. And the owners of this place, they were like hipster people, so they were like totally fine with like weird shit like that. It's like perfect.
That's great.
Yeah.
But then everybody remembers that though, right? They'll remember that time they went to that bar, they didn't even realize what they were doing. They're just eating this food. And then, like you said, they look up and it was like, holy shit, someone's getting ripped in half right in front of me. Like, what the fuck's going on here? That's awesome, man. That's great. You have to do that stuff, man. You gotta, it's still about exploitation, and it's still about, you know, doing something that nobody else is doing.
Yeah.
They did that back in the day with the horror movies, right? Like, I mean, when they tried to exploit 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s movies, they always had that disclaimer at the beginning: if you were about to watch this film, and if you are under 18, and all this kind of stuff, right? So you still need to do something like that. I mean, everything's watered down, and I get it. There's a fucking million bands, there's a million movies, but do something that is going to exploit your movie somehow. Crazy cover, bringing you know that title at the beginning, explaining that you shouldn't watch this movie. It's going to be too scary for you. It's going to be too gory. It's going to be that kind of stuff, right? So
like that,
yeah,
like that doesn't make you want to watch the movie even more.
Exactly, totally does, man. As soon as I see that disclaimer come up, like look at Last House on the Left, right? It's like they like the tagline was, "It's only a movie. It's only a movie. It's only a movie," and you're like, okay, well, maybe I should watch this because what are they talking about here? That kind of thing, right? That's great.
You are not allowed to drink this, you're not allowed to eat that, you're not allowed to see this.
You're
It's
not
like,
allowed to listen to that music, you're not allowed to do that, you're not allowed to dance like that or whatever. So, okay, well, I'm going to then.
Yeah. Fucking legalize. No.
Yeah, totally.
God damn it. We're even if we're like, I'm like 35, you gotta be like 44?
46.
46. I still have like the same feeling in my body when I was like 18, 19. I never think I'm gonna like grow out of certain things. Some things are like okay, I like some things in different parts in my life, like films and music and that and this whole culture. It's nothing that you grow out of.
And I mean, look at I mean, my parents, like, they were cool, but they weren't that cool, right? They're not going to be walking around. I remember, when I was a kid, ties, suits, button-up shirts, maybe a t-shirt here and there, that kind of thing, right? So you kind of think that's, when you're a parent, you grow up, you sit in a recliner and you watch sports, right? That's kind of, what it was, the look at that time. But I look at myself now. Like I said, I'm 46. I have a 20-year-old. I have a 15-year-old. I have a beautiful lady over there, and I'm still wearing, stupid metal shirts, and I'm still loving dumb VHS, and I still want to put tapes on. Like, it's just, you can't grow out of this shit, man, because once you get into the extreme side and the underground and realize there is a, some sort of brotherhood, sisterhood of it all, you don't grow out of it. No, at least myself, you, same thing.
And if you drop dead, you have been mature enough to have a life insurance. This is your collection.
Literally, that, and I tell my kids all the time, I go, see that movie there? That one's worth $80. See that movie there? That one's worth $100. See that tape and that record there? You're gonna make $200 on that. Yeah. So here's I'm putting this all in the will for you guys, but hopefully they'll be going through it and actually do it properly, right?
I think we're gonna wrap this up.
Okay.
It was a pleasure to see you and talk with you, Alfred. And I hope to see you in the future. And I'm looking forward to watch the Growl, and I'm gonna watch Legion, Necropolis, of course.
Right on. And make sure to check out our latest release on CDN Records. This is two Western New York bands, Obscurity and Eternal Torment. We just put this out on CD, and inside, obviously, it's full of old school posters and old band shots, and just bringing out the old demos. So yeah, just be sure to check out the stuff that we have going on in the background. If you go to our Facebook page, the Growl Death Metal Documentary, always posting the stuff that we're putting out, and conversations, like, we're going to do, obviously this interview is going to be coming up soon, and we just want to chat death metal and underground shit all the time, man, because it's the most fun I think I've ever had in my life, is hanging out with this kind of shit.
Amazing.
Love it.
Again, thank you very much, and insert jingle here.